You're now listening to TYPE88 on Maker Park Radio with Dave Noodles. Don't stop dreaming.
Yeah.
Check.
Just want to welcome everybody to the TYPE88 show. It's your boy Dave Noodles, episode 42. We're getting close to that 2-year anniversary. It's getting there.
Shit.
It's a Wu-Tang Wednesday up in Shaolin. The first day of spring. It's only right to have someone who's always springing into action, hustling, making moves, never making excuses. Got the one and only Mivida JDM in the building. What up?
That was like the best introduction ever. Make sure you can hear me. My voice is gone from South by Southwest, so make sure that if you have to raise me up so they can hear me, that you got that. I'm eating these nasty cough drops that we talked about. Your camera's catching that. Fisherman's friend. I am not a fisherman. These are not my friend. They taste disgusting. But it's the only way I could talk to y'all.
Oh, good.
And I love that introduction. I love everything about it. You are the man, Dave Noodles. Shout out to Dave Noodles.
So today I was actually at Hot 97.
You were?
I have this energy that I'm like, all right, I got to bring it. Because we went with Projectivity to we had a class trip.
Nice.
But right before they have their big, 5-minute performances for their family on the 30th. So I just got a boost of energy from it.
That's tight. So when you went to Hot 97, who'd you get to meet over there?
So we met
I have
Shawnee Culture.
50-year-old hip-hop icon friend, so I'm asking just to see if you met any.
We got Mechanical Mike.
Nice.
Who else? Shawnee Culture. Met him briefly. And then we met a woman, because WBLS is also right in the same studio. So we met Melanda Willis.
Okay.
She was literally editing her show and talking to us and giving us tutorials at the same time.
That's so
She's
dope.
hold on one second, commercial.
Right.
Well, this is what you do. And then what do you guys think of this new commercial?
Right.
Oh, okay. I got to bring my A game.
I mean, I've been up there several times because Enough is like a big brother to me. There's a lot of people that I've come up in the industry with, but we're close because I don't ask them for favors. That's one thing that everybody should realize. I'm good at what I do, but I never ask for shit. So when people recognize my talent, then they'll bring me places.
Exactly. So
rewinding back, Monse, that used to be working the boards up there, one day he says, you can come upstairs, I'll teach you the boards. I used to work over at PNC Radio, Urban Latino, doing similar activities.
That's cool.
And I was like, yes, of course I would love to go. Little did I know that he snuck me in. Never saw him there again. However, I did watch him cut up commercials, take live calls and edit them in under 30 seconds and push them out live. With that little delay, I'm on Instagram Live and you're on your feed, that little 10-second delay, he was nasty with it. He taught me that. I didn't get to apply it yet, but it was something great to learn. So you took you're so good to be in the community that way, in Staten Island mainly, but you do help everywhere you go.
I definitely try. And so for anyone who doesn't know, Mivida JDM, where are you from?
I am from Brooklyn, New York.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
Nice.
I actually was sitting here, right, and I saw a train pass, and I was like, I'm in Staten Island, they have trains. I didn't even know you got trains over here. It's like the place I never go.
We do. So it ends at a certain point. It ends. It's weird. It literally goes around the island, but not through the island. So it goes. This is the North Shore. Then it goes all the way around to the South Shore, but it won't cut through where the mall is or Westerly and all that stuff.
It's wild. I was just sitting here cool. That's crazy. I didn't know the island could handle that because I'm these trains are so heavy and crazy.
So you're from Brooklyn. You've been. I know you get busy out there. I literally just saw you out of South by. Your hands full, cameras, all different things. Maybe what was the first time you ever realized creating was something you wanted to do, or how'd you even pick up
on the visual aspect or on the everything aspect? Since
just anything, yeah, because I know you make different stuff. So
I feel like since I was a child, I grew up in a very strange way where I love my parents. They did right by me, but I did raise myself a lot, and my sisters did raise me a lot. So there was a time where I would be off on my own, with or without permission, figuring out what I thought was best for me and telling everyone I know everything, right? And there was a point where I said it. I think I was in high school. like school is not mandatory. I feel like you can be anything you want to be, and my art teacher ripped up something that I made that I worked very hard on because I cut class. And I deserved to be reprimanded, but not to have my art destroyed. And that rage inside of me, I was like, oh, he's going to regret that. Because he said something to me like, well, you're not going to be anything anyway if you keep cutting class. I was like, you're not going to be anything anyway if you keep treating people this way.
Wow.
But I left high school and got my GED and went straight into college. Not for art, but just to be a responsible adult or whatever.
Yep.
Doing what I thought was necessary, not necessarily what I wanted. And at some point, I realized that I can take art and anything creative and make a living out of it. And I tried to live a double life. I worked as...
At 15?
I was, at that point, probably 17.
17.
I was already full-time in, like, the hospital administration and stuff like that. But I would constantly draw, and people would ask me, and I'm like, you know, I don't think I'm professional enough. Later, I had always been taking pictures since I was in high school, and anytime I could get a camera. Fast forward. When I was doing radio in 2008, I think around that time I bought any type of camera I could afford at the time and would shoot my guests. And that's how it started. So I would give them their content, and I would go out and capture every event that I saw, kind of like you saw in South by Southwest. Pardon my voice, guys.
No worries.
So if I could be everywhere doing everything, that probably started around 2008, 2009. And then after an accident that I suffered, about 2013 or 14, I started to just bring the heavy artillery and say, like, this is what I'm going to do. Because if it wasn't for that accident and my life turning around and losing, like, everything and starting over, I wouldn't be able to do this full time at the capacity that I am. I used to just sleep 2 hours a day.
Wow.
So I could do my day job and do everything creative at night from the time of being like 21, 22.
Wow.
So that's a short answer.
2008, yeah, that's crazy because that's about the time I dropped an album at that year, and I also dropped Stereotype, which was, so it was like that was a special year for me too.
Nice.
And that was a special year across the board. 8's just my favorite number, and it's just cool. That's crazy. It's 11 years ago.
I can't believe it's been that long.
So you're working in radio.
Wow.
You're giving people content. This is before IG.
Wait, what?
Before
They
even
made
people said the
Instagram,
word
and I didn't know what
content.
to do with it. I was on Facebook a lot, and like back in the MySpace days and all that. I'm showing my age, but be 35 next month. When I was at the radio station, I came in and I told a good friend of mine, Abrupt, because let me just give you some context. I was a promoter. I was a club promoter since I was like 17.
Got it.
So from 17 to my early 20s, I was like, oh, I've actually wanted to DJ. And when I was little, I would make mixtapes on my Walkman that was like the stop, play, and record type of thing.
Same.
Erasing Flex's yapping and whatever. Shout out to Flex. I still love you. But I just didn't know. It was just like a lot of hobbyist stuff. Everything ties together, the elements of hip-hop, the graffiti, the art, the music, the creativity. But I want to say, I told Abrupt, can I sit in on your show? I just want to learn. I want to like maybe even intern. He put me on the mic right away. His co-host was on vacation that day. So I spent the day roasting his co-host that I had never met because they were just telling me about him. And I was like, oh, he's probably working out on the beach. Shout out to Big Sense. So it was Mr. Light, Abrupt, and me. And then eventually I like never left. It was one of those situations where I came in, people asked for me, he brought me back. Wow. And I didn't leave right away. Another person saw an opportunity to bring me on their show. So shout out to A-King and Combat Jack. May Combat Jack rest in peace. This was before Combat Jack came on. A-King said, can you co-host a show that I have at night? Co-hosted that. Another guy named Tony Delavora said, can you co-host my show and possibly be on there full time? And it was weird. It was like if it was a school dance and all the guys were trying to get to me and I was like, I don't know who to date kind of thing. I was there at the holiday party. Tony makes an announcement and he's like, yeah, Jackie's going to be part of this show. I think it was called La Esquina Radio. I'm trying to remember. And A-King's face, he was like, what the hell? Like, I just asked you to co-host on my... But I was like, it was a one-time spot. You didn't tell me you wanted me permanently. I didn't know I was that good at what I'm doing. So it was crazy because everyone was like, well, you're supposed to be here. So that was short-lived because Tony actually took off after a couple months and I ended up with a show by myself where I took DJ Superstar Boogie and Mr. Light. And I was like, come to Jackie Speaks radio show. Come to Death Row.
Nice.
Little shook night. I started my show and I had a good run. And then I believe it was just that the station was under like construction and I wasn't fully educated about using other spaces and pre-recording. Wasn't really into that. I like live shows. So I kind of like vanished, but I kept doing mobile interviews by myself, pulling up on people like you saw in South by Southwest with all my equipment. I have so much compiled on my hard drives of just stuff I'm going to push out as a documentary. Of just like my life in the industry and everything I get to see and everybody I get to meet. It's crazy.
That's really cool.
But I mean, I can't believe I never met you. It's like we met by chance.
Yeah.
I met you in person at the art show that I did with Fantasy and Color in Yonkers. And I was just like, I just met this guy on Instagram, but he's so dope. It was crazy.
It's really like that. Like, I meet so many people after the internet or apps or Instagram. Or it's cool. Mm-hmm. It's just cool. Like,
social media is great. Yeah. But it really depends on, I guess, the way you could read a person. I read you and I said he's a good person. I don't feel like this is any danger.
Reading? Like a psychic medium reading?
Not so much like that, but just like vibes.
Got it.
Because the thing is that we were raised to be like stranger danger. Don't talk to just anyone. Don't get in cars. Now we get in Ubers with strangers we don't know.
Yep.
You know, we go to parties and we're like, hashtag meet me by the bathroom. Like, hey, what's up? We're meeting all these people that are complete strangers, but it feels like we've known them forever when we meet. And it's crazy. And that's just the era that we're in now. Like, I hate the fact that technically by age, I think we're still millennials, but I don't admit it. I'm like, nah, I'm in between. Like, 84 is like, you're old enough to know certain things, but you're still young enough to see the changes. Instagram played a big role when I was doing radio because when I started to use it effectively, I reached a broader range of people. Like, there's somebody in the UK that was checked in. I used to have a lot of international listeners. I have somebody in Canada that when I was in South by, she's like, you need to come to Canada. The T-Dot loves you, Toronto. And I'm like, that would never happen if I wasn't on the internet.
Yep.
Because back in the day, we just go out, do what we do, and we know we were there. There were no phones and everything out. We just enjoyed it and went home, and we had street cred. Now you got to have, like, online cred. People to want to fuck with you, like, oh, you only have this many followers? Nah. And it's like, do you know who the fuck I am? I'm cursing on community radio.
It's all good. It's all good. We got...
The FCC is not here.
The FCC is not in the building.
I'm like your little female Eminem / Jadakiss today because of the rasp. But yeah.
So of course you're doing more media related stuff, photo, video, and interview related stuff. Where did art even fall into all this? Art
was there my whole life. I just never told anybody because it was very personal.
Got it.
As I kind of touched on the fact of how I grew up, I had a family that was very big, very chaotic, but very loving. So my escape, anytime I thought I was just not in a situation I wanted to hear about or see about, would just be to draw or to paint. And a lot of my art comes from like either a deep place or a dark place, and it's just how I cope with everything that is life. So I lost both my parents at a young age, several grandparents. Excuse me, when I say several, it's because I have two sisters that have different biological fathers, so the family is very big. So every time I lose somebody, that's why I brought that painting with me that I'll find whichever camera to point it at. Every time I lose somebody, I try to cope a certain way, and now I have a rose series, which is like every time someone passes, I keep a rose from the actual funeral, and the other one that gets thrown in, but then I'll paint that rose.
Wow.
So one of the first times I did that, excuse me 1 second from the mic, was for this one, which I'll show you and then show wherever I'm supposed to point it. That way. This one, I don't know if they could really see it, but we'll post a picture later. This one is a white rose for my cousin Kathy's funeral. Shout out to Kathy. I am in Staten Island where she lived. She passed away directly after one of our grandfathers, and I was just in my feelings.
Wow.
Like, that's one of my favorite cousins. And the last thing she said to me was, you're not always around, but you're always there when it matters. I lost my shit.
Wow.
And so I just silently deal with it by painting. But that's like, art has always been a part of me. And now I'm just sharing it with the world. Like, I'm taking commissions and I'm doing things that matter for other people and not just for me. And I'm seeing the impact it makes. And I'm really happy about it because I never imagined that I would tour with people and give them visual art. I never imagined that somebody would commission me like, this family member means a lot to me, or this pet that passed away, or give me something that's something good to look at that makes me happy. I'm like, wow, like art really changes the world.
Yeah.
So visual art consists of photo, video, and actual mixed media. And music is just amazing. Like, you know, on top of that.
That's freaking cool.
So I love it, is the answer.
Do you remember the first piece that was like a commission or someone was like, hey, could you do this for me?
The very first commission, I would say in the beginning I was really bad at commissions because I kept giving my art away. I was like, oh, if you really like it, you could have it.
Because it's like you start loving it, and it's just like, well, you do it because you love it either way, and then like somehow it's not bad to like make a living from it, but it's like just that transition or even that first moment. It's like, oh,
it's true. I could say, I can't say that this is the first commission. I'm going to say it was the first oil painting commission that's more so recent. My friend was like, can you paint my dog? Good friend of mine many years, right? I just had my spine surgery, and painting was just keeping me going because it was like art therapy. And I was like, I don't know if I can make the dog the way you want it to look, but it's going to be my interpretation. Are you all right with that? I was scared as hell. I'm admitting this. She knows it. So I started the painting, and then my doctor approved the spine surgery, and I was like, shit, if you stop and you return to it, it's not the same. I had to have made like 4 dogs before I gave her the final one. Her husband said, you know, I think he's too furry. I was like, what? I was so upset. They had already paid me in full the price that I asked, which was like way lower than the realistic price for what I was doing. But I was like, what? So my reaction, instead of taking his criticism because it's his dog, his alive dog, by the way, not passed away, I was like, I'm sorry, dogs have fur. I made 3 paintings before this one. You can look at all 4 and pick the one that you feel is closest to what you want. Or I could give you your money back and no dog for you. And it wasn't that I was being a bitch, but it's that my art means so much to me that I don't want to, if I'm not proud of it, I don't want it to be up on your wall and feel like you're not happy. I'll make you another one.
Yeah.
But she was like, no, I love it. I don't know. He's just being picky. I was like, listen, I don't know. But you going to take this dog or not? I gave them 2 dog paintings for the price of 1.
It's a good deal.
To kind of like have a happy medium, like the one I liked and then the one I didn't like. And I was like, I'm not even signing it. I was mad.
Oh, man.
I'll sign it eventually, but I was just pissy that day. But that was probably the first commission that could really like stick in my mind, where I was like, I have to learn how to deal with people, especially if I know them or don't know them, because art is subjective. And if you come to me for my art, you have to know that it's going to be the way I interpret it.
Got it.
So that's crazy. And the first like visual commission, I can't even remember. There's been so many. So I don't know.
Got you.
I used to model. So the thing is that I was in front of the camera a lot, and then I did do assistant director work, project management. So I've been behind the camera for a while.
Yeah, because I'm envisioning it now, because it's like you're doing what you do, and it's like I could see how it could be awkward, because you're doing what you do, and then all of a sudden someone's like, could you do it this way? And then it's like, I know that.
It's
how
like,
that
but why?
Yeah. I've done like logos for a lot of people, and a lot of the time it's like it kind of starts with not even that my vision. A lot of it's like they know what they want, but then I do it and I'm like, well, or I'll point out something and they'll be like, well, you know, they're like their heart's set on it, and then you actually make it and they see it and they're like, oh, I don't know, you know, well, do you think you could change like 17 things? I'm like, 17 things.
Because the thing for me, once I learned like the terminology behind what I was doing, then I was even more fierce, because then I'm like, well, first of all, there's 17 layers.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if you commission me, I need a concept. I need to know what it is that you're looking for, and then I'm going to draft with pencil on a paper before I go digital. If you approve that pencil sketch and I go digital and I do what I said I was going to do and you still give me a hard time, there's a happy medium that we have to have, because I'll give you 1 revision. But what clients don't sometimes understand is that if you want it a certain way, do it yourself. If you don't know how to do it, you came to a professional, we're trying to help you. I don't want to sound like mean or whatever, but it is what it is. So it's like, I've come to the point where I can be exclusive. I can have a right to be selective. And now I'm just like, well, maybe I don't want to do a Sweet 16. Maybe I just want to do a music video. Exactly. Maybe I don't want to make your logo. Maybe I want to help you with your overall branding so you can understand what you're going to do with that logo.
Exactly.
And then being commercial and non-commercial. Because when you don't know any better and you're just doing it trying to pay a bill, everything sounds great. I'll pay you $100. I'll pay you $300. It's great. I could pay my phone bill, buy some groceries or whatever. But then when they take it and they go off and they sell it, and it's just like this whole other world, you're like, wait a minute. You tried to lowball me. But what I gave you created your income, and you wouldn't pay my fee. Then you see the disrespect, and you're like, do I even want to do this? It takes away your want to help people, because the people who disrespect make it harder for you to enjoy what you're doing. Luckily for me, I don't have a lot of that. I feel like, you know how people say the customer is always right? in my business, I literally be like, you are wrong. And I'm telling you why you're wrong. And if you don't want to deal with me, you can go somewhere else. And I guess it makes me sound like a bully, but I get shit done the way I want to and the way it needs to be done.
Yeah, I feel communication is key. Just even like I've done some logos with people, and as I start and websites, and it would be like I kind of realized on one, like I was doing all of the websites in like 4 hours, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
4 hours, this is the price. And I didn't really say the hours. I was so used to it. I was like, we'll do the website.
Yeah.
But this person, it took like 11 hours. And they were like, well, you could do this. And then they were sending me PDFs. They're like, can you edit these PDFs? I was like, well, that's not really part of the website.
What I agreed to.
Like,
I didn't sign up for this.
Could you change the logo on this PDF? I'm like, you can't really edit PDFs.
Yeah.
And it's like, people have their heart set on it.
Yeah.
And then I learned from that instance. You learn, like, because, you run into the wall.
Yeah, you definitely, once you make it a profession. So there's a difference between being
Yeah.
a professional hobby where people are like, yeah, you're really good at that. Maybe I'll work with you, to being like professionally hired, and now there's contracts. And what I have learned and what I discuss in the music business is that every time you try to approach somebody with a contract or a professional manner, if they're not used to it, they reject it and they get really offended. And it's like, I just need to know that if you hire me 6 months ahead for a wedding and your bride runs off on you, you're not going to tell me I don't owe you money for photography because you didn't take any pictures. You have to know that I showed up and I blocked my day, and I could have been somewhere else. Could have been anywhere else, but I'm here, type of shit.
Yep.
And it's like, just because you had a person run off on you and doesn't love you anymore or whatever, doesn't mean that you screw everybody else over. The caterers made the food, the visual artists showed up, hired other people, maybe rented equipment.
The day of, you're saying?
It's, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a lot of things happen, and I'm very understanding. I'm pretty flexible, but I had to just be tougher and tougher every year. Even now, I just came back from South by. I think I told you a story that I'll share quickly because I don't know what kind of time we got, but we got time. That's how I'm on Instagram when I talk shit. I be like, I got time today. This guy walks up to me, and shout out to him if he's following me and tuned in for whatever reason, because I don't like him. Don't remember his name. He was like, you're filming. Can you get my artist? And I said, sure. When does he go on? He goes, in an hour. I was like, that's a long time. I have somewhere to be. But you're paying, right? And he goes, yeah. I said, all right, I'll stay. He turns around, and he tells me, oh, he's going to be on in an hour and a half because they pushed it back. I was like, all right. At this point, I should charge him up front because I don't know what kind of person he is. Now I didn't because I was busy, talking shit as always. I go up to him right before he's going to perform. I tell the artist, this is the best place to stand. The light is amazing here. This is what I'm going to focus on. And the artist is hype. He's like, can't wait to get up there. His manager goes, so, yeah, we're good, right? I was like, what do you mean we're good? I said, you got to pay me ahead of time, so let's talk about that. What is your budget? He goes, well, what are you charging? I'm like, that wasn't my question. I'm asking you what your budget is because I'm from out of town. I'm going to give you a deal. So whatever I charge, you can't afford it, and I know you're not going to say yes. But I'm on deck. I didn't come from somewhere else just to film, so since I'm already there, it's like you're just buying my content. He goes, well, how much? I said 75. I was going to make him a 1-minute Instagram clip or less, mixing up whatever his artist was going to do. I don't know what he was going to do. He goes, well, he's going to perform for 3 minutes straight. I don't want you to edit it. And I don't need anything fancy. And I thought that cost $25.
25.
I said,
what is this?
You can see me on the cameras right now. I was like, who are you talking to right now? I said, what did you say? Can you repeat that? 125? What did you say? He goes, $25 because it's just 3 minutes straight. I don't want to negotiate with you. I haven't even seen your work. There's other photographers here. I was like, excuse me? I was like, you know what? You had an hour and a half. I gave you my card and you came to me. I didn't come to you. 25 is not going to happen. I'm very sorry that you feel that way, that you know my job and what it takes for me to do it. And that the 3 minutes of stuff that you need, you believe I'm going to go home and it's just going to land in your hands or something. I don't understand how it magically gets to you. But exporting a file, checking the sound and everything else, I'm like, I'm not explaining shit. He's not worth my conversation. I basically was like, all right, bet. Have a good night. And I walked away. And he was like shook because he didn't have another photographer. He was lying. And the artist looked at me like with despair in his eyes. Kind of like, where are you going? And I sat at the bar and I ate a slice of pizza and watched him perform. And I'm like, damn, he's pretty good. But he has a shitty manager. If you have a shitty manager, you're going to lose a lot of business. Because if you're not treating people with respect, they're not going to want to work with you. So that was my most recent, like as in 4 days ago, example of what I will not put up with. I was
No,
like,
it's
I
good.
am not with the shits.
As you get older in the game, in any world, you know, is it business, is it art, whatever it is, like we kind of build resist, like based on certain things. Like we know our limit, or we know how much bullshit we could deal with. So
yeah, that's absolutely
it's
right.
fine. I think as of late I've been, you know, you always go in, I feel like, this world of life where it's like you say yes to a lot, but then you get to a point where you kind of know your worth. It's like you can't just say yes to everything. Cause
You can't. You know why? You
don't make
devalue
sense.
yourself as you go along. I'm like, as much as I want to help a person, I am not the savior.
Exactly.
I am not hip hop's savior. Like, I want to be as useful as possible. I want to give back to the culture, but I gave back to the culture from 17 years old till about 30.
Exactly.
Before I understood that I could do what I was doing for a living. Everything I did, I never charged people. Half the people I've ever interviewed ended up on television or with some kind of record deal or distribution deal. 90% of them remember me and come back and they'll be like, you, thank you and whatever. But I was never looking for anything to come back to me financially or even a thank you, because I didn't. It's a thankless job as it is. Exactly. So I'm grateful for the people who remember me, and I'm grateful for the people who were inspired to do better things or said, I learned from you and I made myself even better, because that's what my goal was. Good. But then there are those people who are like, oh, I'm the shit and I made it here by myself. And then you look at them and you're like, wow, I remember like 10 of my friends doing all your photo shoots for free, or your music videos, or posting your music, or getting your music to an FM station, but you only respected FM. You didn't respect online when we break a lot of records online. Yeah. Half the records that make it to the radio have already been online in rotation. And nobody knew about streaming services or being paid back then, so that's why they didn't care. If it doesn't have to do with money, they don't respect it. But if I knew then what I know now, a lot of people would have been getting more money. Exactly. Yeah, you learn as you go. And I think, especially if you dedicate your life to something, you could only evolve, because you really have no other choice. You're in that world. You're you know, you have to, and we can't just survive. We got to like thrive. We got to excel. It's true. I mean, some people give up. I constantly have conversations with people where I'm convincing them, like, please don't give up. You're really good at what you do. And they've been visual artists, producers, recording artists. I have a friend that I will not mention the name that went to another state, that went to Atlanta, a place where you will thrive in music. Oh, I'm thinking about moving back. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're like literally in the only place that you need to be back here for what you do. She lived in Jersey. I'm like, why would you come back? Like, try every avenue. You've only been there a couple months. Yeah. If you give up in a couple of days, weeks, or months, then you're not meant for what you're doing. Exactly. Because I've been drawing and painting since I was at least 4 or 5 years old. Wow. I didn't tell other people I'm good by my stuff. I just enjoyed it because it worked for what I needed in my life. But when I grew up and I showed my first painting from art therapy, I'll call it, when I was just home passing the time between the surgeries I had, and people appreciated it, I was like, it set a fire inside of me to make me do it more. And then I went out, and I'm thinking, not my first commission, but this is a good one. In June 2016, I put my company on paper because I said to myself, I would rather have my own company and create my own employment, because nobody would hire me after I was injured at my old job. Yeah. I went out and I did a craft show. I brought out like miniature paintings. At first, I was doing the 2-inch by 2-inch. That was after selling that dog one that was too furry. But I brought out at least 40 paintings. I sold every single one. People I don't even know, family and friends. Sold every single painting. And I was selling them for cheap, like $15, $25, 2 for something like that. Comes with a little easel. I sold all of them. It didn't matter what I painted on it. Everybody loved them. And I was like, wow, good stuff. I've got something, so I cannot let it go. And I eventually went to Art Basel, which is an international art festival. Yep. Excuse me. That's awesome. And I just brought my art out there. Nobody asked me to bring it, but I brought it. It's like those people that stay in front of the radio station and they're like, hear my mixtape. I brought my art to Miami, and I was like, you're going to see my art, whether you like it or not. And people bought it again. The third time around that I went, I ended up inside of a gallery. Nice. So it's like, if you know that you want to do something, if someone tells you no, or somebody makes you feel bad about it, or they're like, oh, you're not good, there's other people that are better, give it up. You let them do that to you, you'll never make it to where you're going to go. Exactly. Never. Yep. Biggie's one of my favorite people, and he said it. Like, I'm just trying to make some money to feed my daughter. That's what he was initially trying to do. Then look at him now. Deceased and all. Very, very well off in the music world. Shout out to Tiana Wallace and CJ. I went to Tiana's store, Biggie's daughter. She opened a boutique on Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn.
Nice.
And it's a beautiful boutique, and she has, as a designer, clothing line, everything in this boutique. And the legacy of her father lives on. And then her brother is doing big things as well. So it's like, if people would have made his children feel bad, like they did to him, and they would have given up, then she wouldn't have that store. And his son wouldn't be doing what he's doing right now. He has, like, I think he started a nonprofit. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there for everybody. There's room for everybody to win.
There really is.
And there's a lot. It's oversaturated, the businesses that we're in. There's many DJs. There's many recording artists. Dave doesn't like to say that he rapped, but I heard about it, so I'm going to try to get him to play something or spit something or whatever. But there's a lot of recording artists, DJs, visual artists, and mixed media artists out there. But there's nobody like you, and there's nobody like me.
Truth.
So that's all you need to remember when you go out and do it. If you go to a festival and you're like, damn, there's like 50 DJs in one room. Why am I special? Show them what you do.
Exactly.
The one person that's watching could be like, I'm from a label and I want to sign you. And the other hundreds of people that maybe act like they don't care, they don't matter.
Exactly.
One person matters.
Yep.
You'd be lucky if you get the 100-something people that like mess with you. So
that's real. Yeah, like Projectivity says, project yourself. You know, whatever it is that you love to do, just go out there, project it. And the feeling you get should be amazing, but you know, you learn something, you meet someone. It creates this snowball effect.
it does.
Where you're doing your thing. And it's every time I followed my dream, I just kind of naturally met someone following their dream. And then we like became friends. They like met me at my like the stereo table.
Yeah.
Or like I'm giving out bookmarks and then I meet someone, they've been my friend for years. And it's crazy, like if I take away me following my dream, I can't even imagine how my life would be. Like,
if you don't believe in it, then nobody else will believe in it.
Pretty much from me following my dream and them being like, hey, you're following your dream? Like, that's really cool. And then I'm like, you should follow yours. Or they're like, I'm following mine.
You gave me a bookmark when you met me.
And
I was like, what is this bookmark? What is going on here? And it said, don't stop dreaming. And then you signed the back of it. It was just a stop sign in the middle. But then you write a personal message on each one. I thought that was super dope. Every time that you've seen me, by the way, by chance, I've either not felt well or I'm just battling something internally and I'm forcing myself to be somewhere. And it's the best time I've had in my life every time I do that. I wasn't going to Texas. My landlord passed away and my friend DJ First Class passed away 2 days apart. And then I went to Texas, did what I do, did what Jackie does, came back, and just handling things that are on a personal level. When you saw me in Yonkers, that day I think I was 3 hours late. I'm almost sure that was the day I was 3 hours late to the show.
Wow.
I can't remember, but I was like, I had one job. Show up to the art show. Something is always happening. But if I let it keep me down, I wouldn't be here. Art has saved my life. Music has saved my life. I love my family and friends and everything. I'm not to say, oh, I'll just off myself or whatever because make everybody else miserable. But when you're facing a lot of different stuff and you're in that moment where you're thinking things that no one else understands but you have to find what your vice is. And my vice is art. And it is music. Like, listening to good music makes me feel better. When I broke up with my ex, I listened to DMX because it took me, I was like, stop crying like a little bitch and listen to some DMX. Some
real shit.
And a lot of indie artists, like I said before, like Nick Moody, I'll put you on to him because you don't have him there, but I'll give you some of his music. Malfo, who you know, is a key player that I manage, but also producer. There's so many great people out there that I just feel overwhelmed. Like, I want to be at everybody's event, and I get FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah, got it.
Because if you want to support, but you physically cannot. Everything costs money, and everything is time, and time is money.
Yep.
Like, today, I'm like, I've got to make it to this interview. This is about me. I've got to be there. When you saw me, what happened? You said, I'll see you next week.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, yes.
You were busy. You were doing
for the thing that I remembered on my calendar. And then I was like, don't worry, I'll be there. You offered to move it. I said, no, I don't cancel. I could literally be bleeding to death and drag myself somewhere in a hospital gown and be like, I'm here. Not the best attire, but
I would go to you if that's the case.
That is true. You probably would. But that's just who I am. So I think that you do a lot of amazing things, and I'm still learning about you. Even though I met you recently, I'm still getting to know every single time I see you more and more. Like, I had no idea about the beat battle in Jersey.
Oh,
the True Living. When I saw you in Texas and you were like, come by, I'm spending for my friend, and I get there.
Yeah.
And I meet a couple of other entrepreneurs, and I'm like, every time I see you, you're surrounded by good people. I like the energy.
It is really cool.
We all network, and then we make plans. And they're doing what several of my people that I know have been doing for years, but they're doing it at a community level, and they're doing it at a free level, where it's like, if you're a producer, you're an artist, come to this giant cipher, basically.
Yeah.
And let's all be one. And let's keep doing this. And I'm like, shit, there's so many people doing this with different names. They should all know each other. There should be a festival where it's just filled with stages from each company that's doing that. I think I'm going to do that when I go home. Figure out how I can make that happen. But there should just definitely be one giant community for that. Brings people together.
It's cool that you point out when you come or wherever, when we meet up or whatever, or when you came to that event, you met other people. But I feel like what I've been seeing, and then I kind of caught it, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's all making sense. But like, if you're following your purpose, you're kind of picky to some bullshit. You know what I mean? You may run into it by accident, or you may not see it coming or whatever, but like...
Or it's brought to you by somebody else who doesn't see it coming, and they bring it to you, and you're like...
Yeah. Like, if you're in your purpose, you're like... You don't have time for some BS. If someone's like, hey, you want to just do nothing? And you're like... focused to go to something, and it, like... It just gives so much purpose to your life.
And I'm like, could we not? Can we just... I don't know. I have no problem with people doing their own free time.
Yeah, same.
But that's their free time. I don't have free time.
Nothing against what they want to do, but when you have your purpose, all of a sudden you're there and you're like doing the thing that you shine at, and then all of a sudden people take notice of that. They're like, oh, you do this? And then they see it, and you're like following your purpose. Things just start making sense. They're like, oh, you should come to this. And then you go to that, and then you meet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just...
They'll naturally connect you if they believe that you're worth that connection, because what you don't want to do is introduce everybody to whoever your connect is. Because when you do that, then it's almost like being a gatekeeper. If you were the Wizard of Oz, right? If you met 50 different rappers in South by Southwest, and they're like, yo, listen to my music, blah, 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 and here's my SoundCloud. And it's like, you go to their page, and they're not doing anything, but they've got that one link on SoundCloud. Then you think to yourself, if I bring them to meet this person who's in radio or whatever, what does that look like on my name?
Exactly.
I'm the kind of person that will help somebody be better at what they do before I bring them around other people, because I'll have a talk with them. I ended up in this weird mansion. It was almost like a summer camp. Like, it was a giant mansion and then a giant piece of land. It was a branding party.
In Austin?
In Austin. The last day I was there, I almost missed my flight. I had to move my flight because I was like, where the hell am I? But it was called Jam in the Van. Never seen it before, but they're apparently very popular, but new to me because maybe I just didn't hear about it. Doesn't mean they're not good. But I got there in a solar-powered van with people performing on the inside. They're streaming it, and they're also putting the content out on YouTube. Tens of thousands of viewers instantly. Wyclef performed there and shot 2 music videos days before I got there. And it's just a giant party, non-stop. All the different brands, liquor sponsors, everything. And I pull one person aside, talking to him, and he's just telling me what he does. I changed his whole life, he told me. In one conversation, he's like, I shoot, but I have to give my content to my employer and this, and that. And I'm like, your content is your content. It's copywritten as soon as you do it. It's copywritten as soon as you do it, and you have a right to use it in your portfolio. You have a right to edit it accordingly, as long as you make that clear to the person that you're shooting for. When you shoot for something that you think is a giant opportunity, or a person who tells you exposure, whatever, if your name's not attached to it, it doesn't matter. How are you getting the exposure at the end of the day? So I had that conversation. Spoke to a couple of people about what I'm trying to do in New York. I gained a liquor sponsor from Texas just based off of our vibe, which is weird because, in New York, people don't really support each other as much as they should. But when you leave, you go to Atlanta, Miami, LA, wherever, everybody is more supportive.
It varies.
That's weird.
I feel like there's peaks and bounds of it. Yeah.
In the hip hop community, it's very hard.
In the hip hop community, it's tricky because I feel like everyone's going for this similar spot.
Yeah.
But what I've realized since, we talked about me doing a little hip hop and now me not doing it the way I used to, it's different. It's a different vibe. Like, especially when you could add to someone's vibe.
Yeah.
And I don't think people mean to not support. I think sometimes people just want it first.
Yes.
So what I've kind of done, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to wait for support. I'm just going to support
Exactly.
everyone and even hire people to work on behalf of my company's behalf to support them. Even if I can't write the blog, I pay a blogger.
Right.
I have a writer that I just forward all my
But
content
this is you
to.
in 2019. Like 10 years ago, we probably didn't, I worked for the radio station. I blogged for them.
Yeah.
And I had my recognition. They called me the Angie Martinez of the station. And I was like, oh, that's like a really good comparison. I really like her. But as soon as you step out the doors and you leave, other people aren't as supportive when they meet you because they're like, okay, well, you're a host. I'm a host. You manage a DJ. I know 20 DJs. Everything, again, was oversaturated. So now
Yeah.
I don't want to say, I retract that statement about nobody supporting in New York. They don't support enough. Because if you're not fully aware of yourself, you can't make other people aware of you. So that's one problem. Yeah. And also, if you keep going to these places where people meet up and they're just cornering themselves like, that's okay, I'm good. I already have this down.
Yeah.
It might be something in their confidence. But because you have to know that, it makes you feel like, what did I do that they're not gravitating toward me? What do I need to change? And sometimes it's them and it's not you.
Yeah.
Because I've been supporting everybody my whole life. And I'm just like, that's why I get the support I get. But
Yeah.
it could always be better.
Yep.
It's all about being consistent also.
It's
I've been on many hiatuses.
It's crazy. I've been thinking I've sometimes just realize it in the moment. I don't go into it like, you know what, I'm going to be a sweetheart. And then all of a sudden something good's going to happen. Like, that's not like my plan, but I like an hour into being a sweetheart, like my boy will come into my office and be like, yo, man, you got time? And meanwhile, I'm like working and I'm like,
okay.
Well, I hardly see you, so sure. But either way, sure, I have time. And like I remember an instance where my boy came in and I'm literally talking to him, basically giving him consulting, like other people pay me to do what I did for him.
Yep.
And I'm realizing in the moment, I'm like, I'm killing it right now. I'm like giving him some dope ass advice.
But do they know how valuable that is when you're giving it? Sometimes they don't.
No, he was like, yo, man, I'm good, bro. I'm ready to go. And like, so like as we're talking, I'm literally getting orders on my site.
Right.
And it's like, diddling, diddling, diddling. And I'm like, what? Hold on.
What, people buying merch and
like
stuff?
People literally just
I'll
buying
do some
stuff.
holding music while you go like, getting open the door.
I'm like, is karma really that quick? And it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, karma's karma. Because like for instance, I have stickers, I have buttons, whatever it is, right? Like I'll go to a show and they'll be like, how much is your painting? And I'm like, well, either A, the painting's not for sale because it's the original, but you can order a print, or B, maybe it's out of their price range. And I don't paint for my audience, I paint for me. But I do offer alternatives for my audience. So I try to explain that, like, hey, an art collector might want this painting that I made. It's one of one. I can't just give it to you for $50 because that painting is actually insurance to whoever has it.
Yeah.
I tell people to sign a contract that they won't infringe on my art while I'm alive. If I die and you own a painting of mine and you want to sell it, you better donate some of that money to my family or something like that. I would hope. But if you're a gallery or a museum that owns it, that value has gone up. So I'll offer a print. Then when I tell them how much the print is, depending on the type of print, special paper or whatever else, then they, some people understand, some people don't. So then all of a sudden you'll see the trickle down to, okay, so here's a sticker or a postcard or something smaller, a magnet, whatever it is that I'm making. And in that moment, that person will buy 4 stickers instead of 1 because they just really wanted to support but couldn't do the painting.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I might turn around and mail them a print to say thank you if I have an extra one or something. Everything costs money, so you can't just give things away. But when you see someone appreciating it, then that's when, like, you gave your friend a consult. In South Bay, I gave a film producer a consultation. He's like, are you a director also? And we just sat there in the director's lounge, and I gave him a consultation for an hour.
Yeah.
I reevaluated his entire brand and everything, and I was like, this is what I love to do. I just can't do it for every single person.
Yeah.
I do set up days where I do it, for 8 hours straight. I'll have people sign up for slots, but That's the one give back a month or something. Can't do that every day.
It's a
Pardon
mess.
my squeaky chair. What's this Canadian flag I see? Nope, that's not a Canadian flag. I'm a little blind right now. What's up?
It's cool. No, that's just the game, you know, and you know, we all go through tough time. It's life, you know. We go through life isn't always perfect. There've been some crazy moments last year that were like, wow. And then there were moments like, oh my God, like this is so unreal, like the amount of love. And it's same thing in any profession or anything you pursue. There's going to be those like really good moments, and then like, why is this even happening? But I think when you get through them, the good or the bad, I feel like you always learn. Like I love the song "Living My Best Life."
Yeah.
Turn my L's to lessons. Like that's just such a good way to look at it. You know, just that line is like perfect to me. And literally my outlook on life, Mivida, is like, one of them is like, no matter how old you are or who you are, I'm going to learn something from you. I don't care if you're like 4 and you show me that little dance where the arms thing.
Yeah, that way.
Or like you're like 80 and you're like,
do I need a 4-year-old right now?
and you're telling me don't smoke cigarettes because your brother, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Something happened. So like, I just try to look at it, and I remember talking to a young kid. He was like, yo, Noodles, man, you just respect me when I'm talking to you. People look at me, and I'm like 19, and they don't really take me serious. I'm like, bro, no matter how old you are, I'm going to learn something from you. And I think just having that approach changed me, just knowing that and be like, you know what, no matter who this person is, I'm going to learn from this person.
I think that's very important because people think so the art show I just did, mind you, I came off the plane, went to a funeral, then went to the art show that I'm featured in. Found out at the art show that she's keeping my painting for 12 days. Nobody asked me, but I'm fine with it. But it's in this gallery for 12 more days. I was totally shocked.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's major because it's in Spanish Harlem.
Nice.
So the traffic over there,
There's
a lot of people that I know.
Actually.
And I'm just like, I think it's like 104th in Lexington. I got there late. I got there with an hour and a half left to the show, but that's because I came out the funeral. Like I landed in Queens, went to the Bronx.
Okay.
Then went to Spanish Harlem. But when I walked in, the first thing she said was, I'm glad that you made it. I didn't think that you were going to make it. She didn't rip me a new one because that would have felt bad. I did tell her that I had like a lot going on. But just the love in that room lifted me up. So somebody said to me, I guess they asked me to explain my painting, and I did, and it was like a super sad explanation. They said, oh, I didn't see you earlier. I was like, yeah, I was at a funeral. But I was smiling, and she's like staring at me. She goes, what? Why are you here? I was like, because I promised. And people look up to me, and people ask. It could be one person that was looking for me, and if I'm not there, done. Wow. I'll make another person feel bad, and that's the least thing I want to do. In South by Southwest, I have a friend named Harvey that's part of the label Noir, and it was a large group performance, but he told me if I would have looked out in that crowd and not seen you there, I would have been very upset. Because I was all over the place, as you saw, and I made sure to like zip down there and get in there. I think that was the same day I saw you.
Got it.
That I was like, I need to go somewhere. I think that was the place.
Got it.
But I saw him perform, and like I almost cried watching them all perform. It was so beautiful. And he, when he got off the stage, was like, that really meant the world to me. You never have any idea what it is that you're doing to impact people. And I think I wanted to ask you a question, if that's all right.
Of course.
And then I'll give you a rollout to make you feel better, because I bet you I will.
Okay.
What is the most traumatic thing that has happened to you while you were in the midst of pursuing your dreams that you thought you might have to stop what you're doing, but maybe you either took a break or then you kept going?
Good question. Damn. Most traumatic thing that happened to me while following my dreams?
Yeah, because you know, like when you just get going and you're like, wow, I'm in a good place. And then boom, something happens and you're like, shit.
Okay.
And then you got to like get around it to keep
You're probably going to be like, this wasn't traumatic, but...
It might be. To you, you know what? Everybody has their own traumas. I hope my phone doesn't die and my live doesn't go away.
So I'm remembering it because I've been pretty blessed. Like following my dreams, I've had a lot of amazing experiences. This one was just kind of like a smack in the face. So there was one kid I worked with. I won't say any names or anything.
Nah, no names.
But he was like, yo, man, I work with all these artists, and I know this label, the guy who runs this, and then I'll get you all this clothes. So I'm like, I'm like year 1, year 2.
Like a clothing sponsor?
Of making clothes. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like rappers will wear my stuff. Like,
right.
This is before
That's placement.
This is before I did a collab with Redman, before DJ Kool Herc wore my stuff, before Riff Raff, before Kaylani shouted it out.
I love Kaylani.
And we made mad sales. Before I toured with G-Eazy, which was like year 5, 6, 7, 8.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, of course. So I literally make a bunch of stuff, and it's like, it's at the point where like we're making 100 or 200, and like,
and that costs you money to make the stuff.
Yeah. And it was the first time I was like, most of the time I'll give like my brother a shirt, or my best friend Paul,
right,
or my friend Dave a tee, and you know that doesn't cost that much. So I was making like hoodies. He's like, yo man, you know, but if you can hook it up, like,
yeah,
if you can give us each like 2 hoodies and 2 tees. So I'm like, it's like 12, 13 items. And for me, that was a lot of stuff to just give someone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And he wanted like double XL, and like that
custom sizes cost more.
So I'm like, all right, sure. So I make it. I give him all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's kind of like crickets for like a few days. And he's like, yo, man. So he hits me back. He's like, yo, man. I gave him all the stuff, and they checked out the website, and they saw that like you and your brother and your boys rap or whatever, and they were kind of like, what the fuck is this? A bunch of white dudes rapping.
Wow.
Making clothes. Like, we don't want to wear this.
They didn't want to.
Meanwhile, I was so confused because I was like, bro, you asked me to make all this stuff for you.
He requested it.
Yeah. So to me, I was just like I was just mad, like annoyed. It wasn't so.
And then you can't even like be like, you're gonna pay for that because that, or return it.
Yeah, it was already in their hands, and
yeah.
He kind of like G'd me in a way, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what else to do. And I'm like,
yeah, I'm listening.
So to me, that was a little, you know, traumatic.
That's dickish.
I know it's probably
I'm just gonna be outright with it and say it's dickish.
The word traumatic maybe not be the best word for that, because it was just kind of like dealing with some
it teaches you a lesson, because you're like, oh my god, that's like if I was to make 10 paintings, and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna be in a music video, so I make these 10 paintings, and then they destroy them or they don't give them back, and I'm like, okay, well I got the video credit, but now what? I wanted to tell you, because I knew that you would have a story. It's not gonna be like mine, but it would take you through a walk in a day in my life, I guess, where every single day something's happening. So it's like if I have a good day, that's unusual. Yeah. Because it's just always some shit. Like just last week, I told you I tried to fly to Texas, missed my flight, almost missed the second flight, had to book a third flight because the guy booked me for fucking April instead of March. Just like, those are frustrating times. But trauma-wise, I would say I lost my dad when I was 15, lost my mom when I was 21. Everybody just every month or every 3 months, someone's dying, a friend, a family member, or whatever, going back and forth. But being in a job for many years, and that being my career at the time as an administrator in a hospital, losing my job, health insurance, everything overnight, and then requiring 3 surgeries, not knowing it was going to be 3 right away. All of that kind of pushed me into the position of being like, there is nothing that I cannot handle. So if someone disrespects me, I'm going to shut them down immediately because I don't have time. Like, I literally don't have time. I could walk outside and something could happen to me because my life is like Final Destination. Wow. So if I see them wasting my time, I'm like, all right, bye. Because what I don't like, which is equivalent to what your story is when people book me and then they don't pay their deposit on time and they keep promising me they're going to do it. And then people are calling interrupting my life. They promise me that they're going to do it and then they don't. And I spend money to do the job, or I rent equipment or whatever. This literally, you can't stop it from happening all the time, because once you make an offer, you just got to see if they do what they're supposed to do. Dave, that story could go on forever, but I know we don't have much time. Yeah. I want to thank you for bringing me up here. I guess I should tell people my website or something.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. So Instagram is
make sure
at
to check it.
Mivida, which is my life in Spanish. So Mivida. Squeak. Mivida _ JDM. From that page, you can find my art page and my business page. Dope. My website is Mivida JDM LLC for Limited Liability Corporation.com.
There you go.
Or you could just Google me and then you'll find like 17 things because I've bombarded the internet. I think I might make like a custom something or another to gift Dave for this room. Give it some more life.
Blessing.
There's a lot of fun stuff in here.
Yeah, we got a piece. My boy brought it for me. I
Oh,
ended
I
up
see
leaving it here, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'll
It
just leave
rocks
it here.
though.
I think I'll just leave it here. Shout
It
out to
rocks.
my friend Mark giving me that. So that'd be a blessing.
I mean, I really enjoyed this interview. We could talk forever.
Yeah. We could talk for a long. So, yeah, if anyone who's unfamiliar, make sure to check out Mivida JDM. And it's episode 41. Make sure to keep it locked. Maker Park Radio. There's an amazing episode coming up after me. Normally my homegirl does the Lemonade show, Shoe and Lemonade, but it looks like there's a different show today. So I don't know the name of this one, but make sure to keep it locked. Shout out to Maker Park Radio. Maker Park Radio is a free streaming community radio station that is listener supported. Any donation amount is greatly appreciated because Maker Park Radio is a 501c3 nonprofit. It's also tax deductible, so what better way to write off a good deed and supporting community radio on the island. Over 60 shows are on here. Hundreds of free hours of community radio. Support people and support organizations before they become famous or so they could become famous. And it's your boy Dave Noodles. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Ciao. Let me end this and try to save it.